So let's do this again then. Another video where we take somebody else's blog and hopefully make it a little bit more funny. We'll see how we go. I'm also going to concentrate mostly on not saying the words or something like that, which I realise I did about 3 million times in the last video. So I'm also going to try and make this a little bit shorter because the last one was 22 minutes and it doesn't need to be that long. We've all got Netflix episodes we need to watch, so let's get down to it. So this is the third video. First one was a plumbing one. The second one was a personal training one. This is the Curious Piano Teachers. Sounds like a case for Enid Blyton, but that sounds good. So this is the blog we're going to look at today. Is perfect pitch really so perfect? You can find this on the internet. All those kids are banging on about. It's a real thing. Seems like a really good blog, actually. But it's not something that has a lot of humour in it, and we're just going to use it to see what we can do. So this is going to talk about absolute pitch. So let's see. Let's find the bit. It's a bit with nothing. Let's do this. So let's just take this whole thing for a second. I won't do all of this, but I'll do some of it. So the idea is there we go. If you've not seen this before, basically a really good way to find out how to write gags for material or make your words a bit more funny is just to see somebody go through it, because a lot of people think that it's really hard and that humour comes really easily. And for some people it does, but not for me. So when you're trying to add it to your own words, it can seem quite daunting, but it's not really the case at all. So you just need to kind of go through the process, work things out, try things and stuff like that. So let's just break this up a little bit. I'll make it a bit bigger as well, actually, because I'm 43 in this report. There we go. I'm so rubbish at Google. Right, so this is the blog post we have, and that's what we have. So let's have a look at it. So absolute pitch. First thing is to get the terminology right. Although the term perfect pitch is frequently used, this is actually a misnomer. In research, it's actually referred to as, you see, whenever I see misnomer, I always think it'd be good to insert a picture of Homer there and go, no, silly, I said misnomer. That's just a cheesy gag. I won't do that here. In research, it's actually referred to as absolute pitch. Let's move on to the definition of absolute pitch and see what we can do with that. Absolute pitch is the ability to recognize a pitch outside any context. Fair enough. Daniel Levitin, I have no idea who that is, describes it as an internal template or memory for how note names and sounds an internal template or memory for how note names and sound match up with each other. That is a lot going on there, isn't it? I don't know who let's see who Daniel Levitin is. I was going to search for him before. I've seen the blog post. I've had a look at it just to have the organised mind. That doesn't bode well. Let's see who Daniel Levitin is. So I had a quick look at the blog post before just to check it was okay and real. But before I searched for him, I thought I'd do that on here. So Daniel Joseph Levitin, American cognitive psychologist, neuroscientist. Right, let's just use that for a second. In fact, I'll leave it. He's a neuroscientist. And let's be honest, that does scream, I'm a scientist, I've been to university, I wear a white coat, I use big words. So let's add a little bit of humour to that. So Daniel Levitin describes it as an internal template or memory for how note names and sound match up with each other. For those of us without neuroscience degrees, you could say actually for those of us, I want to kind of put without white jackets and neuroscience degrees. This basically means that someone with absolute pitch can hear a simple pitch from within the 12 scale and label it. So let's put this really bogged down absolute pitch. So let's, for the sake of arguments, say this basically means that someone Someone with absolute pitch can hear a single pitch. Label it. Let's just take that out now. Need to check that was right. But so let's a little bit of gag it. So Daniel Levitin describes it as an internal template or memory for how note names and sounds match up with each other. For those of us without white jackets and neuroscience degrees, fancy white jackets, neuroscience degrees, it basically means that someone with absolute pitch can hear a single pitch and label it. This is within isolation. I take it the pitch is in isolation, not the person. Although that would be a good gag, locking them up in a room just to see if they can recognise the sound. So this is within isolation and without reference to another pitch. So, cheat, sing, do, re, mi, to figure it out. I think that's basically what that's saying. I've picked a music blog and I have no musical ability whatsoever. So you can't say do, re, mi to figure it out. That's what that means. You can't cheat and sing do, re, mi to figure it out. So that'll do for that. It just basically highlights, just leaving it like that, that kind of definition is quite daunting. And there's a funnier way of doing that, saying, he's a posh bloke though, so for those of us without, so you could put, he's quite a clever of a chap. Quite a clever chap though. So for those of us without fancy white jackets and neuroscience degrees, this basically means that someone with absolute pitch can hear a single pitch and label it. This is within isolation without reference to another pitch. So you can't cheat and sing do, re, mi, fa, so to figure it out. That seems okay. That seems okay. Like I say, I'm just kind of going to go through these. Normally when you write gags, you kind of hone them and you think, how can I make it funny? And you can kind of see there how we did that. You add the neuroscience degree, then you go, oh, it'd be quite good, let's put something in there like white jackets. Let's make him fancy. And then, oh, he's quite a clever chap there, so let's, add little bits in there. It's a constant kind of tweaking process. There is no real right or wrong. So, what's more, many possessors of AP can recognise the non-musical sounds, the car horns, squeaky doors, for example. There has to be something in that. You see, the child in me wants to say something like, so if you want to be able to fart the national anthem, somebody with AP would be a good person to have. But something else. So maybe something non-humour, but something that gets the message across really well. And I've seen this before. There was a spade that sounded like Nirvana. This is I saw this on Smells Like Teen Spirit. This should be it. So let's click on this. Let's see what comes up. Let's turn the volume up. Perfect. That's exactly what I was after. Exactly what I was after. So you can make exactly the same point as that, but you could also insert the YouTube clip in there of shovel. That'll do. On a shovel. Would highlight that exactly perfectly, but in a fun way. It's not funny. It is kind of funny, but it's not. Somebody falling over on ice is always funny, but it's not particularly hilarious. It's not a joke per se. It's not a gag. It's just something that illustrates the point really well. You can say car horns have a pitch. You can say squeaky doors have a pitch. But if you can find a YouTube clip of a shovel falling over that sounds like Nirvana, or you can find, if you can record your mate Tony farting the national anthem, which I'm quite grateful I didn't Google. But if you can do that, then it highlights the point so much more while putting a smile on somebody's face. So yeah, I think, like I said, I just want to make this a short one, but just in that quite short little blog post, we've got a couple of chances for humour. Maybe not laugh out loud funny, but just enough to kind of break the ice and give the blog post a bit more flow. So it's just really two gags we've put here. So we've spotted this definition that this very fancy guy has made, and then dumbed it down a bit in a way that's quite funny. Those of us without fancy white jackets and neuroscience degrees, so you can hear a pitch and label it. Then we've highlighted this point, isolation without any reference to pitch. So you can't cheat and have your mum sing "Go With Me" to figure it out for you, something like that. And then we've highlighted this point about non-musical sounds as well. So within the space of just this bit, we've added 3, and I'm not including the misnomer and homer gag, which would have been hilarious. But just within this bit here, we've got about 3 gags out of it, or 3 opportunities to make it a little bit more funny. So hopefully you found that useful. Like I say, I just kind of pick these at random. It's not an indication that I don't like the blog or that somebody pointed it out to me or anything like that. It's just an example of something that is quite specific and niche and esoteric, and it's got a scientific definition in there. So I'm just using stuff that stereotypically doesn't have a lot of humor attached to it, and trying to add a little bit of smiles in there, and that's what we did with this one. So if you've got any ideas for other websites or blogs or copy or words that I could use for this, I'm always on the hunt. I think it's a great way to show people how you can go about this and how it's a process rather than just a skill that people either have or don't. You just tweak things here and there, and you may be able to find better examples of things you could put in there, and maybe the homer gag wasn't the greatest thing in the world, but just gives you an idea that you can kind of look at these things and tweak them as you go. But yeah, message if you want me to, if you've got any questions, or if you've got any blogs or ideas that you'd like to feature on here, or got any questions about gags, anything like that, I'm open to discussion. It's a really open process. It's a fun one, and I enjoy doing it. And if you like the videos, let me know. But I'll speak to you soon.